What is going on? Welcome back to Trading Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. Another phenomenal day, up 12.53%. I want to break it down on what really drove it higher, what shorts did, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So pre-market, it was up, I think like 9 something percent. And then all of a sudden, market opens and it just dropped like crazy. And so I'm going to go over shorts and what they did, but ultimately during this time frame, they were increasing around 11.5 million shares. So they definitely were trying to suppress SoundHound. But it did close at $15, up 12.53%, a lot of good volume. So 207.16 million shares being traded, 57.2 is the average. Ultimately, a massive amount of buying after hours, and most likely a lot of that is linked to market makers covering in the money options. But when it comes down to market makers, they're actually seeing $27 possibly in the foreseeable future. So honestly, how this has all played out has gone absolutely amazing. And like I said, I think there's still a lot more room to go, at least in the short term, before you have some level of consolidation. But these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. My apologies on going relatively fast. There was about 350 transactions above that 100,000, much of which occurred pretty much first thing. So this is what caused a lot of volatility. But anything that does show as a bid, on a side note, does kind of constitute a sell. Anything that shows as a ask is a buy. So a lot of big transactions, as you can see. So I was kind of going relatively slow and not really covering everything, but I think this just is more of a painting of a picture of exactly what really drove it higher. And that was big money, and big money was starting to get into SoundHound even prior to their big kick-ass news and prior to their event, that their fireside chat that they did also have. So I think just generally market really wanted to propel it higher. Market in general did have a couple data points as well that did come out, all of which were kind of in line with expectation or better. So you had non-farm payroll 227 versus 202 the forecast, so very good stuff for that. Unemployment came in line with the forecast of 4.2, so generally good. No news associated to SoFi, so it's just been kind of piggybacking off of the pre-existing events that I mentioned. One thing that did come out that I'm not necessarily a fan of, market didn't seem to care whatsoever, but there was after hours yesterday a 144, so directors are still selling. I think you generally know my viewpoint on that, so I think just the business itself is absolutely kick-ass, and that is going to continue to go higher. But the insiders and the board, I don't know, they're rather toxic if you ask me. But like I said, the market didn't really seem to care about this director selling 50,000 shares, so it is what it is. But quickly going over to shorts, so at the end of the day, net, they did increase 1.5 million shares. Like I mentioned, first thing, they were really doubling down around 11.5 million shares. And you can kind of see that based on this. My apologies on the internet and all the other stuff, why it's relatively slow. In case you don't know, I did do a trip. So normally I have my face doing recordings and my audio doesn't sound, I feel like, this bad. But again, it's kind of I just wanted to put some videos out and whatever else. So this is the audio for right now, but this is the peak what I was talking about. So first thing, 11.5 million shares. So 15 minutes before the market did open, that's when they started to really increase. And ultimately 24.39% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 80.03 million shares overall are being shorted. One thing that I feel a lot of people haven't really realized is the fact that over the last several trading days, when SoundHound has had absolutely amazing returns, like ultimately shorts returned every single day. They increased every single day. Yeah, honestly, this potentially could be a mother of all short squeeze kind of scenarios if SoundHound is still going to continue this good momentum. And based on the technicals at hand, like there's nothing really negative to really say, with exception of it is just rather overbought. And you can see that based on the stochastic RSI, it is very high based on the ALMA 50, 100, 200 day everything is looking very good. So most likely there is going to be a continuation of this run, but like I've stated in the past, first sign of weakness, whether it be specific to SoundHound or the broader market, you could see some consolidation possibly, but I think bigger picture that will be relatively healthy. So looking at the options, 70 million in calls, 14 million in puts, 46% of all the options being done were bearish, majority of which came from pretty much the first about 15-20 minutes of the trading day though. But quickly going over here, this is insane. So today, 83 million total premiums. Yesterday, 92. That completely blows everything out. That's, for the most part, one of those trading days, like either today or yesterday, that is a normal week in its entirety. So a lot of money is looking at SoundHound. But when it comes to it, like I mentioned, market makers are seeing realistically, or at least as a possibility, $27. And so I'll go over that in 1 second. But of the call options that were purchased, you see a consensus for it to be kind of above that, looking over here, around $16, $17 for the end of next week. But this is what I was talking on. So they opened up the chains today. So that does mean that market makers do realistically see it getting to there. At least there's demand for people to buy it, and so all the way up to 27, and you can kind of see some people did take advantage. So oddly enough, some people are thinking $27 next week. I think that's just for the hell of it. Probably people bought it, nothing really crazy, but it's 13 cents. The bid, the ask, and the selling price, you can kind of see that for there. And then July 2025, also January 2026, some options were purchased for that. So $27, you know what, is kind of on the table. So let me know your thoughts on that if you think that is realistic. And just so you know, I did post my updated predictions for SoundHound on my Patreon. So in case you don't know, I have a Patreon where I'm giving buy signals, stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolute bangers. So I did upgrade my previous targets because SoundHound did hit them. So definitely pop over there to take a look. But aside from that though, I already did go over the technicals and whatever else. But if you're looking for short-term support and resistance points, with it closing at 15 and change, it is trading between this R3 and this R2. So 1457 is going to be that next strong support. 1588 is going to be that next strong target / resistance. So SoundHound is on a warpath, a new 52-week high being hit today. So realistically, based on the Elliott wave technicals, it is projecting for it to hit roughly around that 1650 to 17 in the short term. So honestly, I think just a lot of the data points I did bring up are very, very optimistic and kind of pointing that SoundHound is going to continue to trend higher. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Give yourself a shout out if you did buy, if you sold, what did you do with SoundHound? And then one final thing I just wanted to say, definitely pop over to take a look at my Patreon, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching, and hopefully everyone has an amazing weekend ahead.